and she stood in front of the young man and she was trying very hard to tempt him for him to fall for her seduction. And then she opened her towel to reveal her body, and the young man could not believe his eyes what he was seeing. He was so excited and he fell for her temptation. She continued and intensified it to be sure the young man gave in to her temptation. And then she covered her body, and the young man had already fell for her temptation. He carried him, and as the young man followed her into the room. This is what happened. This is the story of two best friends who stayed together. On this very day, the young man was teaching his other friend data analysis because they were both tech guys. So he was trying to explain certain things to the friend when his own girlfriend came into the sitting room. They exchanged pleasantries, he hugged the girlfriend, and then they continued learning. He was basically teaching his other best friend how to analyze data into age, gender, profession, how to make sure the data was properly arranged. But then his girlfriend began sweeping, and she was sending romantic signals to the friend who was learning, while her own boyfriend was unaware of what was going on. She was trying hard to seduce her boyfriend's best friend, but the boyfriend was unaware and he thought she was just merely sweeping the house. They both raised their legs, and then she continued sweeping the house. While she was sweeping, the young man was still staring at her, unknown to the boyfriend. She was sending romantic and love signals to the young man who happened to be her boyfriend's best friend. She continued sweeping. While she was there, the young man was scratching his head and admiring what she had physically. And then she was done sweeping, and then she left. And the young man continued as though he wasn't distracted at first. But then the friend's phone rang and he picked up the call, and it was a client who had called him to come meet him to also teach him this data analysis. So he went into the room, and the other friend was trying to catch up with what he had been learning earlier to see if he understood anything of what his friend was showing him. The friend came into the sitting room again, told him he was going to come back later in the evening, that he has gotten a call from a client who he needed to go meet up. He placed his laptop inside his bag and called on his girlfriend. He was trying to check the time, and then he instructed the girlfriend that he was going out, that I'll be back later in the evening, that she should take good care of the house. And then he left. But unknown to that young man, that his girlfriend was having interest in his best friend. She sat close to him. I was trying to seduce him, but the young man, knowing that that's his best friend, doesn't want to give in to the temptation. She was trying very hard, but the young man was telling him that you are my best friend girlfriend, you shouldn't be doing this. He was telling the young man that don't you like what you see, won't you like to have it? The young man seemed to be falling for her temptation, but at the same time he was also resisting. The young man was telling the girl to please stop all of this, that you shouldn't be trying to even do this. We stay together and we live as family. You are my best friend girlfriend. But this lady was very persistent and was trying to make the young man fall for her temptation. But then he pushed her away and told her to leave him alone. She was trying very, very hard to seduce this young man, but the young man wasn't falling for her temptation. He pushed her away and told her to leave him alone. He was having so many thoughts in his head, but on this day, he did not fall for her temptation. It's another day, and on this day, the young man was still in his sitting room as usual when his friend came from inside of the house with a laptop. He wanted to continue teaching him this data analysis from where they stopped earlier. But while he was there trying to explain more details and more complex stuff about this data analysis to the best friend, not too long, they were still on the class. He was explaining even further details to the young man, telling him that he needs to keep practicing when his phone rang. He picks up his phone and he realized it was another client who was asking him to come over to come teach him. And then he told the client that he was on his way. So he had to inform his best friend that he was going to come back later and they would continue from where they stopped. He closed his laptop, picked up his bag, and placed his laptop inside of his bag, checked the time, and then his girlfriend came from inside and he informed the girl he was leaving, but asked her, "Why are you on tower?" She said, "I want to have my bath. It's nothing." And then he believed his girlfriend because he trusted her, shook his friend, and then left the house. While he left, the girlfriend stayed if he had gone and continued in seducing and tempting this young man who stayed with them. But the young man was telling him that you shouldn't be doing this. You are my best friend's girlfriend. What do you see in me? Leave me alone. I don't like all of this. But she was very persistent and was eager to make sure he falls for her temptation on this particular day. The young man was telling her, "Leave me alone. We shouldn't be doing this. Stop tempting me." He pushed her away, but on this day she was determined to make sure the young man falls for her temptation. And then while she was there, she was also trying all her seductive prowess to make sure this man falls for her. And then she finally opens up her towel to reveal her body, and this young man could not believe what he was seeing with his eyes. He had already fallen so deeply for her temptation, and her seductive strategy had worked on this young man. She shook her towel. He had fallen for her temptation and could no longer hold himself. She wrapped her towel around her body and then proceeded towards this young man. That's how this young man fell for her temptation. Please be careful of ladies. Please, if you enjoyed watching this video, tell us where you are watching from so that we can send you a big hug. Please share this video. We love you and God bless you.